Today, I'm joined by Lyn Parent, who is an estate agent in Surrey, and she's here to talk about her amazing story of both being in a state agency and out of a state agency, the trials, the tribulations, the hopes and the dreams. Thanks for joining me today, Lyn.
Thanks, Chris.
Lyn, when you were born, talk to me a bit about your parents. Where were you born and where were you brought up?
I was born in Paris in the 60s, so my name, Parent, and they divorced, so I flew over with my mother, and she met her third husband in Surrey.
So why did your mum come to
England?
To England?
She was English. My mother's English, born and bred, very, very British.
Still got your mum?
Yes, still just.
Does she still have does she have a slight French twang?
No, she's English. She's
proper.
Yeah, proper, frightfully
teacup.
Her father was aide de camp to the King of England, so we're all
Lovely.
So very interesting. So I came over when I was 5 years old, and I was made to live with my grandfather, who was a brigadier. So quite hard for a French girl. I didn't like the French.
And do you still have your dad?
No, my real father in Paris died in 2004.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Did you have much contact with your dad whilst?
Every couple of years, yeah, and then every year, because Paris was way more sexy than it was to live in Surrey.
What did your father teach you as you were growing up?
To be very strong, to have character, and always use your manners. So manners was absolutely 100%.
And whilst you were growing up, did you have French grandparents as well?
French, but mainly English.
Mainly English, because you spent most of your time
in England. Yeah.
Okay. So what did your mum and your grandfather teach you?
Well, my mother's a very famous artist, so she always worked from home. So she works for Waterford, Ainsley and Wedgwood and all the China designs. So she always taught me to be myself, to be authentic, always smile, and to be honest with integrity.
Fascinating.
Loyalty is premium.
Loyalty, where do you think that came from?
My grandfather being a brigadier, loyalty, and I brought that all the way through my life.
What did you, apart from loyalty, what did your brigadier grandfather teach you?
Well, I was very young and I couldn't speak very much English. He taught me to speak well. He taught me to sit up. He taught me about always eye contact, and what children were seen and not heard. So I was always taught to be secondary at that time.
How did that make you feel at the time?
Fine. I didn't know any different. You know, I was a very attractive little girl and French, you know, in a little school in Reigate, you know, couldn't speak a word of English apart from shoes and sweets. And I got away with it. I got away with murder. I always got away with things. So my personality brought me through. I was lucky.
What did your grandmother teach you?
Love, nurturing, home base, to be real, and not just that, always to be kind to others the way you'd want to be treated yourself.
So it sounded, even though you got uprooted from France,
I know.
It was actually a present in disguise.
I was very lucky. I always believe my mother married her third husband to the most amazing man, Englishman, who was again Second World War veteran, Royal Navy, Air Force. So, and he was equally incredibly good. Gentle, kind, and very, very honest and loyal.
There seems to be the word loyal
all the way through.
All the way through, like a piece of rock.
Yeah.
How do you feel when someone breaks that loyalty?
Betrayed, massive betrayal. Questioning myself.
What did I do wrong?
Always analyze myself. I always analyze, what did I do wrong? How can I be better? What can I do for this never to happen again?
Do you worry what other people think about you?
No.
So that's quite a rare skill, because all of us should take reference from that.
Yeah.
But interestingly, you know, so when you lose a valuation, do you say, what could I have done better, as opposed to that's been personal? It's been like, like a dagger through the heart.
Yeah, I often lose valuations, but I often get them back 4 months down the line.
Now that's quite a rare, if you don't mind, like, can we go
Yeah.
down that little,
Yes,
that
do.
little rabbit hole now?
Yeah, yeah,
Because I
yeah.
love going down rabbit holes.
I know you do.
Normally when, let's just say these 3 estate agents get called out, agent A, B and C,
Yeah.
and agent B gets it, overvalue, cheap fees, whatever.
Yeah.
It's very rare for the vendor to go back to A and C, and they normally call out agent D because they feel embarrassed on, calling A and C. I told you so, the fees are too low, or
Yeah.
the valuation was too high. How do you get them back the second time?
I keep in contact with them.
Yeah, but there's keeping in contact and there's
I
keeping
knock
in
on their
contact.
door. I go and see them and see how their agent's doing. I follow them. And if it's a house I would like to sell, and that makes a big difference to me. I don't just take any house on. It's a house I'm passionate about. It's lovely. That the actual owners are good people and we have a good synergy together. If we don't have a good synergy, it doesn't work.
Why do you often lose them then? I mean,
There's a lot. It's very competitive out there. It's incredibly competitive. Probably because I'm so honest. I'm really honest to them.
with the valuation.
Absolutely dead on. Yeah, and I tell them my A, B, and C plan. I tell them my strategy, and it always works. Usually my fee's probably too high for them.
So they have to go and find out. Because often I find estate agents don't chase them up. They go, "Oh, I've lost it. They hate me.
Dog with a bone.
You are like a dog.
Dog with a bone.
Why do you think most estate agents aren't like that?
I
Because they're not,
think
are
they
they?
have so many valuations. I probably don't have so many valuations. I door knock and I actually take the houses I'm really interested in taking on more than getting valuations. I do it the wrong way round. I'm an estate agent that does everything upside down.
Yeah, but does it make you happy?
Yeah, I love it. It's a challenge. So when I door knock a house, I see it's been on the market for 3 or 4 months. I go up and see them and say, have you not got an offer yet? And, where are you thinking of moving to? And I get into conversation. I said, look, give it another couple of weeks. If your estate agent hasn't done this, this, and this, seriously, I'll happy to do it for you. I think 99%.
So
That's
it's
how I
not a
get
case of necessarily losing. You do lose some, but you're probably most of it because you deal with the upper quartile, don't you?
Yeah.
In that Surrey Hills way.
Yeah, 1 to 2, but mainly 3 upwards.
That's 3 million.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because some.
Sorry.
So
Yeah.
right, I know.
Not
it's all-
300,000. 3 million.
So that's the Surrey Hills. So that's basically anything from Seven Oaks in a band going
Yeah,
to Guildford.
right up to Guildford.
Yeah.
And right up through Cobham and Oxshott. Yeah.
Okay.
And I stack houses as well. So I bank houses. I have 5 houses now that I'm going to market in February next year. I've told them not to put it on until February next year because of their circumstances. I'm in New Zealand, selling over there. And to be honest, the market is so not what they want it to be and not what I believe I could give them the best option. Next year's better for me.
It's quite brave, don't you think?
The fact they might change their mind, not really. No, I love it. I'm so challenged by that.
Is that what gets you up in the morning?
Absolutely, yeah.
You're
I only look
You're not like a
after.
normal estate agent, are you?
No, totally,
That's a
totally
compliment,
weird.
by the way.
Oh, is it? Okay, thank you.
No, it is.
So 5 to 6 houses I look after. So I'm bespoke. I only look after between 5 and 6 houses because I don't want to talk to more than 6 people a week. It's enough. It's a lot of energy. I put a lot of my passion towards everything I do.
Let's find out a bit more about you, Lyn.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you're growing up,
Yeah.
under the loving umbrella of your mother and your new stepfather and your grandparents,
Yeah.
let me guess, you didn't necessarily want to be an estate agent at that time. None of us did,
That's
did
a
we?
model. Yeah. No. But my father's a very famous estate agent and my brothers are, and they've kept the name going, Parent Immobilier in France, Paris and the south of France. They're huge. They're bigger than, they're as big as probably the larger guys out there. I've been going for 48 years.
Is it just pure coincidence that you fell into a state agency in 1990, even though you're...
I wanted to meet famous people. And I knew I could in Putney because there were lots of actors and actresses. So I learnt to door knock.
I'm seeing here you started your first job in 1980.
Oh, yeah.
For first sleeves.
That was being a hawker, selling shirts and jumpers, big bag, knocking on every office door in Mayfair. So learnt all the door slammings, get out, and honestly, the ones that told me to get out, I'd go back in, sell them a Trojan of shirts. Yeah, it's great.
And you were dealing with some pretty big names at this
Yeah,
point, weren't you?
huge. Yeah, huge.
Do you think you got a lot of that business because they recognised that you were persistent and
Passionate. I'm very naturally passionate, and I don't know, I think that's something crazy about me, but I am always really happy in the way that I love doing my work.
you see a door in your face as a challenge and say, I'm
Yeah,
going to get you, you
absolutely.
bastard.
Not in a nasty way.
No, not in a nasty
I
way.
turn it. I love to. So I'm a solution person. I solve solutions. So I'll always solve solutions. If I can't get anywhere, I'll find another way around to get into it. And that's my challenge.
See, most estate agents, they tend to be on the scale. They're more influencer style, which
Yeah.
is they are, sorry, they're very, use their people skills to get the business. The downside is that when they get rejected, because their biggest fear is rejection.
Yeah, I know. I quite like rejection.
That's rare.
I think that's from having massive rejection as a child, you know, and living with older people. So at the age of 5, I was with someone who's in his 70s, brought up with an older generation, so very good with older people. I just think that's just my challenge.
Do you think it's something that can be learned from someone in their 30s and 40s?
Gosh, yes, yeah.
How do you learn
Look at
it?
the good in people, look at the best solution.
Is that a mindset thing?
Yeah, definitely. I've gone through a lot of pain in my life. I think maybe I've gone through so much pain in my life that really things don't touch me as they used to.
Well, we could be coming on to that. You've
Yeah.
had some pretty
Heavy.
heavy stuff that's hit you in
Yeah,
the life.
yeah.
So throughout the 80s, you were in London, Milan, Paris. It
Yeah.
sounds like a perfume advert.
Yeah,
that
it
does.
did.
Did you went to Australia as well?
I did. I went for,
Why all, you know,
you know, 21, you know, I wasn't going to university. So the next good thing is to go overseas. So I just
having the time of your life?
Yeah, but I set up a business straight away. I'm an entrepreneur, so I had incredible ideas.
Is it the thrill of the chase or the money that interests you?
No, doing something that was very different that no one else did it. I'm an opportunist, so I can look anywhere on my daily and literally find
So
an
you like to
opportunity
build?
all the
Do you
time.
get bored though?
Very. Yeah, 2 years. Can you not see my CV?
I can see
Every
your
2
CV.
years.
I've got more. I've
like
got
a
more
rabbit.
gear than a.
I know. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it keeps your interest going. I think as long as you're challenged, you succeed. You don't have to stay in success, but you can go to the next challenge. I mean, a bit like Richard Branson, really. We all went to school together, so I'm sure there was an influence there.
In 1990, you decided because you'd set up your own Dressability, which
Yeah.
is a
Lifestyle dressing
fantastic.
for social people, and got girls going around to Chiefs and Hawks and tailor-made suits for men in the city, organised their Churchill shoes, their shirts. So I set up a service for women who are socialites and who wanted to go to the big ball, and I'd show them 3 outfits, so I'd design one for them, have everything delivered for them, from their lingerie, shoes to their clothes.
Plug and
No
play.
one else did that. Sarah
I mean, it
Ferguson.
seems so obvious now, doesn't it?
Yeah. Sarah Ferguson was one of my clients. I've had a lot of clients I can't tell you about, but a lot of very, very wealthy. And I mean, I went to Paris and John Cruise was on the plane. It was crazy. And I had to go and buy a mink coat for someone's lover. Top grade man. Anyway, I didn't know how to take it across to Paris, so I wore it and took a first class ticket. Took it to the Georges V, paid the porter because he had to come up from a cold storage room on Boxing Day to give to his lover this beautiful fur coat. And at the time, John Cruise was on the flight and asked if I wanted to go out for a drink. I went, absolutely not. You know, amazing genre of interesting
So
people.
So why in 1990 did you decide to become an estate agent?
Margaret Thatcher, everything went crazy. The big black day that every person literally in the middle management and service literally crashed. So I pulled the plug out of my business. I didn't go bust or anything. I just pulled the plug, decided there was no leverage for good clients anymore, or I wouldn't be paid. And I was living in Chelsea at the time, and so I thought, why not? I might as well start selling properties. I've met these people. I'll start selling their houses.
It was just as simple as that.
Yeah. So I knocked on a guy's door and said, "Will you take me on?" And there's some very famous people in Putney at the time.
And you liked your famous people.
I did.
What did you learn about estate agency in those 2 years?
Consistency. Always being very tight to your paperwork. Your admin had to be second to none. Not my
Is that,
best.
let's say that's not your...
Terrible.
I know you. I know your paperwork's awful.
I literally have to have PAs now because my paperwork is terrible. Yeah, and I know that. I
Yes, but
work
at
with
least
the best.
self-awareness is
Totally.
everything.
Absolutely, and I explain that to my clients. Please excuse me if I have spelt something wrong in my WhatsApp. I am slightly dyslexic, but I work 24/7 for you. They're fine, as long as I tell people. I'm honest.
That's the main thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. So going back to...
Communication is what you said earlier on.
Absolutely. Talking, being open, being honest. It's so much easier. People would say, crikey, you're not honest being an estate agent, but I think there's a lot to be talked about, being honest and being grounded and not telling them everything, but being very, very open to what you're doing. Yeah. Getting them to help you as well. You can't be everything.
You then had something that quite innocuous that changed your life.
Yeah, I was an estate agent with a really, really, really high-end net worth houses. And my sister said, look, that she was a well-known, my sister's a well-known makeup artist, and all the supermodels at that time were getting tattoos. And she said, come to Portobello and I'm going to get a tattoo done. I'd like you to, be the person that backs me up and, So I went to Portobello Road with her in July and just had a little tiny tattoo done. And I said, I'm your older sister, I'll go first. And she had one after that. And, we didn't tell our parents. It was not the done thing to do. You couldn't tell people about tattoos. It was like a naughty but nice type thing. Anyway, 2 months later, I became incredibly ill and was sent to hospital and packed in ice. I was fine. They thought it was malaria because I'd just come back from Thailand. And then I was told to go in just to try out a few things, just a few more blood tests. And it was funny how your subconscious comes out. This woman came and said, I've really got to take a test for you. And, you won't like it, but we have to eliminate absolutely everything to start the chart again. I went, yeah, okay. And they said, well, one of it is an AIDS test. I went, but I'm not Rock Hudson. I'm not gay. I'm not a bad girl, Anyway, she said, next day I'll come back, let you know. And she came back 2 hours early, slammed the door really hard. And I said, oh my God, have I got AIDS? And she said, yes. And you've got 6 months to live. 6 months to live. So I suggest you get yourself started. Literally, my head went round, literally turned round. Shock, horror, pain, terrible anger. Hadn't got married, hadn't had children, had a fantastic business.
Did your sister come down with it?
No.
Just think if it had been the other way around.
Yeah. Would have been her if she was first. But no.
That was a proper sliding doors moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit. But, it doesn't matter. It's, I learned through my life, I've gone through a lot of pain, stigma, but through my life, I decided to go straight to New Zealand. And the reason why was because it was a peaceful, calm place. I felt it was a better place for me to be because everyone kept crying, of course.
How do you deal with it? I mean, I've got a very good friend, a chap called Sanjay Gandhi, which I know a lot of people watch, and he's got a cancer at the top of his spine going into his brain, and he's he's saying similar things.
It's a process he has to go through. I've done lots of little messages to him because you have to have peace with yourself is number one. So I had to learn about getting peace for myself. So I'm probably very different to other people in the way that I don't have the same sadness of death. I'm quite happy. I'm really happy. So I'm very much in the now. So what I can say to other people is you have to process and forgive, gratitude.
But you've got all these people coming at you, crying at you.
Yeah, it's very sad. That's the hardest thing to take. You're basically a counsellor.
Because they're almost crying for themselves, aren't
Yeah,
they?
absolutely. And missing you. Yeah. And
But
and they
before you've
always
even
ask
gone.
you, definitely with HIV and AIDS, they kept saying, how did you get it? That's all. And, every time people picked up my glass, oh my God, I might catch something. And that still happens now.
Was there the medication on HIV that there is?
Yeah, I didn't take medication for 22 years. I got married and did everything against the book, had a baby, and left my husband. Unfortunately, long story short, I lost custody of my son because I was HIV in the courts in Rotorua back in '98. So I spent 13 years trying to get him back. So my whole motion and my whole structure, my whole body was to get my son back. So I don't think I thought about myself one bit. So a lot of it is not self-thinking about yourself, self-pity, moving forward, like Sanjay is doing a fantastic event, for awareness for other people. It actually drives you into a better direction.
But if you had no medication, how are you still alive?
I think there are about 8 to 9 different strengths of HIV. I found out after 6 months I wasn't dying, by the way. I was wrongly diagnosed. I didn't have AIDS, I had HIV, but I had a very, very low CD4 count, so I could have died of an AIDS-related, but at that time, Philadelphia it was terrible. It's like the Grim Reaper in Australia and New Zealand. It was. So I did the opposite. I got married, had a baby. I left my husband, unfortunately, realizing that I really need to be with someone who was younger and who was really there for me. Lost custody of my son and spent all that time getting him back, and then crusaded for women and children who had HIV in New Zealand, and the stigma that is still there. So massive fashion shows. So I used all my work and all my education I had with the fashion magazine in London, all my connections. I used to be a model years ago, back in the day, back in the day. And yes, most of the time, you always work towards that goal of trying to make an awareness of what you have without you being really involved, if possible, because everyone comes to you the whole time. You can't give the answers to anything. So I spent a lot of time in New Zealand in the last couple of years promoting myself of awareness and public speaking and to children at school, year 9, year 11, for health, telling them that, it's okay, that you have actually just got to take a test before you have sex. Yeah.
Meanwhile, whilst you were doing this, you were in fashion.
Yeah.
You did a few years in a state agency. You have to be qualified in New
Yeah, I had to do the years. It's like a degree, but I had to do the year's license. And funny enough, you have to keep your license up, and you have to pay about $1,500, about £800 a year to keep it up. Of course, I lapsed it after 10 years, and I'm redoing it now, actually.
Why are you not still in New Zealand?
2020.
You got your son back, by the way, I hope.
Yeah, well, 15, he came back. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he's now 26.
Wow.
And he's got custody of his own daughter. It seems to carry on a cycle. His cycle hasn't broken. So 2020, March, my sister rang up and said, my mother's really ill. I've got to come back for a couple of weeks and just sort it out, or whether she's going to die. I knocked on the door, 7th of March, 2020.
That was a week before it all went
Suddenly,
tits up. Excuse my French.
Yep, Jacinda Ardern wouldn't allow Kiwis to go back into the country.
Yeah, that's for a long time, wasn't it?
Yeah, a long time, 2 years. So for 2.5 years, I didn't see my husband, my daughter, my son, my granddaughter. So all I could do was a girlfriend of mine told me to just get a license and work for a great agency called Finding Country and door knock. And I door knocked literally 5 days a week. I didn't have any friends, really. I literally door knocked every day. Met some incredible people.
What did you learn from that?
What did I learn from it? Persistency. Being the same, not changing. So when you're going the first month, you're exactly the same as you are the second month and the third month. And I'd go and give my magazine and I'd tell them a bit about my story about coming over from New Zealand. They didn't really want to know. But when I changed my car from a Golf, and then none of the gates opened on my Golf. But when I got a Mercedes, a convertible Mercedes, all the gates opened. I couldn't believe it. I had no idea. I hadn't been here for 30 years. So, in my day, all the men who drove Ferraris and Lamborghinis were all over 60. Now they're younger than me, they're in their 20s, Life had really changed.
We're going to do a separate video about
Yeah.
the power of door knocking
Yeah.
and how it can generate business. But let's
gosh,
come back
yeah.
to your story. You moved away from Finer Country to Nest Associates, which
Yeah.
is another self-employed model.
Yeah.
How long have you been with those?
I left Fine Country in 21 because my business partner walked away. So I decided on my own I would carry on with Nest because I was selling my mother's cottage at the time at 450,000 in Surrey in Godalming, Shalford. And then I got very good backup. I was with a guy who'd been with Fine Country for 7 years, so his model really worked for me. I'm quite a free spirit, so I wear the clothes that I want to wear that suit me. I work within my realm of the areas I want to work with, and I'd make a phone call. I'd get a phone call back within 2 hours. It wasn't as a big conglomerate that I wasn't very good at working in systems either. So
You're a bit of a free spirit.
much more of a free spirit person. So he understood me, really worked with me, saw my potential. And then 2.5 years later, I moved my business to New Zealand. So I work in New Zealand as well, in Auckland and Queenstown. So I have Nest in New Zealand and in England, and it works.
I was about to say, does it work? How does
Yeah.
that work then?
I have Nest Associates in New Zealand who sell the houses for me. I do all the door knocking because I love door knocking. So I go back at like the end of September until February. Perfect timing, winter in England, and it's the summer there, perfect timing for there. And I literally door knock and give the agents.
So you're a self-employed model that goes and gets the business
Yeah.
by using door knocking.
Absolutely.
And then what about the houses that you won't be able to door knock whilst you're in?
I sell my houses over here when I'm in New Zealand. It's incredible. My daughter does all the, she's great. She does all the lists.
So your daughter will.
She does all the viewings.
So you've got. It's not as if you're leaving the UK.
No,
You've still got your daughter here who's very good at showing people around. You can negotiate
Absolutely.
over the phone.
I do all the negotiations on the
Okay.
phone. Yeah, I sometimes work at 9 at night in New Zealand till 3 in the morning. It doesn't worry me. I'm fine.
And then you'll go over and spend 3 or 4 months in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Door knock like hell to get the leads.
Get all
in
the leads
for your.
and bring a video photographer over, do all the movies, do all the videos, do all the photography. So they get all done in the way that I made sure it gets done professionally.
And then you'll come back to
They
England in
launch
the spring.
it. Yeah, they come back in spring. I've banked a few houses for when I come back. I launch before I come back, usually a month before I come back.
So you've got people who are prepared to wait until you come back to put the house on the market.
Absolutely. They're not ready. Yeah. So that's who I am. I don't push them. When they're ready to sell, I'll give them a format. Where's a good time to sell? Why is a good time to sell? When they've decided where they're moving to. There's nothing worse than selling, which I have had twice now, £3 million houses, 3 days before exchange, they weren't ready to move and they've pulled out. I can't afford to do that again. The emotional intelligence that you put into a sale and put into a client and the passion and the amount of effort is too much. Yeah, I won't ever let that happen again. So I often use gazelle for that.
It sounds like you're in control of the situation. You're not beholden to other people.
No.
Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I love it.
You're not going to go and flit off somewhere else.
No. I'll reduce New Zealand because I have enough good agents who can actually run it.
But you still need to go over there and do the door knocking.
I need to see my son as well, my granddaughter. It's an excuse to see them. And that's the reason why I set it up. So I would never lose being a New Zealander and never lose seeing my children.
You run your estate agency in 2 countries.
Yes.
It's a self-employed estate agency model.
Yes.
And basically, you're queen of door knocking.
Absolutely. They don't door knock out there,
Well, not many agents in the UK do.
don't they?
No.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
No.
Okay, I always door knock. And door knock, all houses have been in the market over 3 or 4 months, just to find out what's going on.
Right. So I think we'll leave the video there.
Yeah,
We'll go down the rabbit hole of door knocking and
Yeah.
what tips and guidance you give to people.
absolutely.
We are also going to talk about the fact that you were diagnosed with ADHD and how
Yeah.
you see that as an advantage in a estate agency.
Yeah.
And we'll also talk about some other great topics, short, sharp videos. Do check them out on my YouTube channel. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.